Hey everyone, Mr. Overon here with Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services, and excuse me, a little hoarse today. In my last video, I talked about spell babies, or doll babies, voodoo dolls, and so in this video, I am going to show you the basis of how to make one, and I'm using yarn. This is a light green or sage green yarn, and what you're going to want to do is keep the yarn attached, but get yourself a good amount to start working with. Now in my previous video I was talking about how I came up with the idea to create this, and that it was during my high school reading time, and that I was the witch of the school. Everyone came to me, students, faculty, really didn't matter. So without any more, let's get into this. So I'm gonna just drop this down right here, and so you take your piece of string and you double it over to whatever size you want, and then just kind of, you can knot it if you want to. I do it both ways, so I'm going to show you the knotted way. So you're just going to make a knot. Doesn't have to be anything special or fancy, and just pull it tight. So there you go, you have your first loop like this. Now, starting with your knot, sorry, this is from other projects that I was working on. So now you take your loop and then just make a couple of more loops about the same size. And what you're doing is you are creating the spinal system for your doll. And let it come up one more time. So at this point, if you were to unravel it, you'd probably have about 3, maybe 4 feet of yarn. And then you just pick a spot and you start twirling, and you twirl all the way around this, all the way down, back up again. And you don't have to be precise with it, but you just twirl. Move down a little bit each time, and you twirl. And this is initially this is the hardest part of making these doll babies, or spell dolls, or voodoo dolls, whatever the hell you want to call them. It's just getting the spine wrapped. Now, I've done it in the past where I've used 2 chopsticks and put a chopstick down the spine and then wrapped around the chopstick. You can do that, but your doll then isn't as flexible or as malleable. Like, see this one here? It doesn't have that spine, it's just wrapped like this. So you just continuously wrap it. Now, if you are making this for any kind of particular cause, like say you're making a Dammit doll or a voodoo doll for like a boyfriend or a spouse or a lover, girlfriend, someone who cheated on you, whatever, you would put that intent into this as you're binding it. You are creating that person with this. So everything that you would want to happen, you put into this doll. So like, say if I wanted money, I would constantly be thinking about money and how this is going to be drawing into my life. If I'm thinking about somebody who has wronged me, I'm thinking about the wrongs that they did and the things that I would want to say to them, the things that I would want to happen to them, so on and so forth. So you just keep winding and winding and winding. and eventually it's going to become a little stiffer and easier for you to work on. It's just getting the initial things all set up here. And you are going to go through a lot of yarn or twine or jute or whatever you use to make this. Each doll, I would say, I could probably get, if I'm using yarn, maybe 3 out of a skein of yarn. This skein that I'm using right now, I might be able to get 2 out of it. I don't know. But this is laborious. Not the easiest way to make a doll baby or spell doll or whatever. I'm just going to call them doll babies. Or maybe refer to them as voodoo dolls, even though we're not practicing voodoo. It can be used in voodoo. But a traditional voodoo doll is something completely different. So just to give you kind of an idea. I don't know, I'm just rambling right now to make up time. Okay, so okay, now I'm going to call that good, and I'm going to leave this tassel down here below. And you'll see in a little bit that I turn those into the legs. So you just keep wrapping. Now I'm just genuinely wrapping wherever, and now see how it's easier to work with. You just keep building it up to your desired thickness. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to this. You just do how you feel is good. So wrapping, wrapping, wrapping. And like if you wrap in the torso of the body of the spell baby, then, or the doll baby, then you want to wrap all the way down. Don't ever just wrap in one area without wrapping in the rest of it. Otherwise you're going to have a lopsided baby doll. Okay. Now I'm going to form the head. So I have these loops up here from the top. I'm just going to grab hold of those, pull it over, make a loop. And that makes your head. So because I pulled it over up here, I gotta work it down. Now just based on how my wrappings are looking, this is going to be a very small doll. But you know what, that's fine, because this particular doll I am making to use in a jar. And so I can't have a big doll baby because the size of the jar that I'm using isn't going to be that large. Okay, so now I'm going to define the head by just tightly wrapping right here to kind of create a neck. And I'm going to be going over that ball. This is the one time that as you're creating your doll that you don't have to go down the spine of it, because you want the head a little bit larger. Of course I have a text message. My phone hasn't gone off all freaking day today. But see, you kind of get this caterpillar cocoon looking thing going on. But at this point right here, I'm aggressively tightly wrapping around what would be the neck to further define the body. Okay. Now that I have that going on, these are going to turn into the legs. So I need to make the arms now. So what you do is you make a loop on one side and a loop on the other side. So see, one loop here, one loop here, and then you just start wrapping the arm like you did the rest of the torso. And this is going to be difficult because now you're working with holding on to the doll baby and wrapping at the same time. So you're just going to have to do some creative holding here. You can even take this arm and just wrap it around the body for now. Just to kind of get it out of your way. Don't forget to let go of that wrapping once you start going down the spine and building out the chest and shoulders of this. So just keep wrapping. Once you think that the arm is long enough, you can come back, you take that loop and you come back on itself. So with the way that I'm creating this, that's how long the arm's going to be. So I've got that loop now, and I'll just hold it to the center of the arm. Maybe I'll make it a little bit longer. There we go. And then you just begin wrapping it like you did with the head. And the spine. Sorry. Turn this off. It's 40 degrees outside right now and I have the fan on. So, just to kind of let you see what I'm doing here. I'm building the arm out. And each time that I wrap, I move my finger down just a little bit to get more yarn in there. Okay. So here's the other arm. Now you're going to want to start working it to where you can connect the arm and build out on it. And once you have it the size that you want it, or if say this arm gets too small, it's real easy to just add a loop and then wrap. Okay, so now that I'm all the way back to where the shoulders would be, I wrap, then I come under and I wrap, and then I do this figure 8 pattern where I come up, over, down, and come up over here a couple of times, come right here a couple of times, across the body, and then put the arm down, have it come across a couple of times up here. And all you're doing is you're just forming out the neck and shoulders at this point. Okay, so let's get back to wrapping around this arm a little bit more. And you know, when you're doing this with chopsticks or any other kind of wood, it could be a wooden dowel, you're basically just wrapping around a cross. I'll use my paint sticks here, or paintbrushes. So yeah, you would just make a cross, so like a little cross like that, and then you would just wrap around. And maybe I'll do that in a different video, but and you don't have to only use one color, you can use multiple colors. You can do, like, say just black for the head, white for the body, green for whatever. I mean, there's just really no wrong way to do this. So at this point, if I wanted the arm to be a little longer, I would just make a loop like we did before to make the arm, and then wrap into the loop, and then connect it and wrap it. But this arm looks like it's going to be plenty fine. And this is all held together by the wrapping that you're doing here. I mean, if you want to, you can go through and sew into it a little bit. Like on my doll here, I sewed her arms together at the ends just to give it a little bit more stability, and I sewed the head, if you can see it right there, just to keep all the yarn from flopping around. Another thing you could do is a little dab of wax, or some hot glue, regular glue, whatever you have on hand, however you're going to decorate this at a later point. So, like, see right there, this is one of the common things that's going to happen once you're starting to wrap and you hit the head. Sometimes you'll unwrap a part of it, and what you can do is you just take it and force it back on somewhere. So see, at this point we have the head, the arm, and the torso, and then the legs and the arm right here. So now I'm going to start wrapping this arm over here, and I'm going to come at it. I'm going to turn the doll completely over and wind my yarn going down. Again, working with a limb, it's always the hardest part because it's kind of floppy. And I can't see the timer on my screen, so I'm sorry. This is a little bit of an in-depth video, so you're in it for the long haul, folks. But at this point you would still be adding your intent to it, thinking about what you want to happen. If you're binding the person, you are quite literally binding them by making this and thinking of their image. And this technique is one of those ones that I often don't do or show people. In the past, when I've taken on students, I've shown them this, but it was only after years of practicing it myself. I mean, I've made probably 13 or 14 of these since high school. And, well, high school was several decades ago. I mean, these things last a long time, depending on how you use them. I mean, if you're going to set it on fire, of course, it's not going to last for for very long. And all the time and energy that you put into this, setting it on fire seems kind of brutal. But, you know, I have done that. Okay, so that's as long as I want this arm to be. So I just take that loop it over, and start binding the arm. And this is the time when it starts going a little bit faster, because it's already been bound on itself when it started a couple of times up here. So you can, I would suggest giving it like kind of a medium tight pull as you're going up the arm, but again, it's all up to you. The stronger that you pull, the more stable the arm's going to be. And you really want the arm to be really stable up toward the shoulder. So, get a couple of spins in there. And like I said before, this is probably the only time that you don't have to spin down the length of the body, is when you're creating the arms. Because if you look at the human body, we go from our heads, most of us have pretty wide shoulders, and then we go into the body. Again, this is just a representation of the person that you are working on, or if you're just creating this for your own personal use, or to keep around as an all-purpose doll. Okay, now I'm going to start wrapping this arm up and really securing it to the chest. So you just do a bunch of random wrappings, doing figure eights to create the chest and to secure the arm a little bit more. And I'm going to build the arm up a little bit more because it's kind of puny. And I'm not a stickler for making things symmetrical. Like I can see that this arm is larger than this arm, but you know, it's your magics. You do with it as you will, and this is how it works for me. And I've never seen anyone else create one like this. Like I said, this came to me in high school, and this is how I used to make them in high school. Now, if you didn't really like how long your arms are, you could always bend them in and wrap at that point too. You don't have to leave them that length if it really does bother you that much. But for me, I kind of like the off-kiltered nature. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just going back and forth across the arms. I flipped my little doll over, but damn. Okay, now the arms are how I want them. Gotta go around in a circle kind of tightly to define the head some more. And give it a wrap here. wrap here. Now, continuing on, I'm going to build out the torso now. Again, you just keep wrapping. I haven't done anything special. The only knot that I made was down here. The rest of it is just gathered yarn. And it doesn't matter if you're using yarn or twine or whatever, you are going to have the floppies, and working with those is going to be the bane of your existence until you get it wrapped out like that. Okay, so now I'm going to work my way down. Okay, so now I'm here at the hips, or where the hips will be. So now comes the fun part. Freaking people. Okay. So, let's see. I got one loop here. Okay, so this is a good thing. I thought that I had 2 loops on each side, and it wasn't something that I said was necessary, and it's not, but I'm just going to show you how to work with 3 loops. So here you would just make yourself another loop so that you would have even loops on either side. So now I have 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and wrap. Okay. Now you have to spread the legs, no pun intended, and take one set of legs and then just get them out of the way, and then you start wrapping the legs like you did the arms. The only difference is this time you don't have the head, so there's nothing really to wrap onto, but you just wrap the legs like you did the arms. And it really helps if you're ambidextrous, which I'm not. But, yeah. So as you're wrapping the legs, just make sure that you're trying to keep everything somewhat the same length and tightness and what have you. And if you're starting to run out of yarn at this point, just tie a piece of yarn onto your working string and continue wrapping. You can hide the knot, and it's easy enough. You just wrap over it. Okay, I'm going to grab these loops, fold them over, because I think that's long enough for this leg. So I'm just going to take them, fold them over, and start wrapping. As soon as I find a good way to wrap it. Okay, here we go. At this point, you probably have a good 40 or 50 feet of yarn. Okay. So you just keep wrapping, wrapping, wrapping. Okay, now when you get back to the crotch area, you want to wrap and then wrap the torso. Don't worry about the other set of legs. Just make sure you don't wrap them up. So wrap the torso. So you're building out the hips at this point. Okay. And then thicken your legs up. Okay, get back to the hips, wrap the torso, just at the bottom, don't go all the way up. Okay, so now we're going to start working on the other set of legs. So you just wrap. Take your wrapping from when you did the hip and start following it around. And see, some of this up here came loose. That's fine. We'll deal with that later, because you're going to do one or two full wraps on top of the form that you've created already, so you can hide those. Now, something else I've done in the past when making these is I've wrapped herbs into them. So like I've used cinnamon sticks and wrapped stuff into it, and then I would like put rosemary or whatever. But if you want your doll baby to have any kind of special power or infusion, this is the time that you would do it while you're building out your spine and your arms and stuff like that. Even your legs, you could add stuff into it there. But yeah. Typically when I do the herbed wrap doll babies like this, I like to use eucalyptus or bay leaf or something like that, along with the cinnamon stick. It just really depends on what you want done with this. If you want this doll to always be associated with money, then you could wrap a dollar bill up into it. You can wrap some coins or glue some coins down to this part here and then wrap them. You just do whatever you want to. Get as creative as you can. Because each time I make a wrap on this, I'm giving life to this. I'm putting energy into it. I'm binding intent into it. If you want this to be used for positive purposes and you're making this and you get angry or upset about something, you want to stop and go relax and then maybe burn some sage or whatever, smudge your doll baby, because you don't want that intention being in there. Even, if you start this and you get angry, like I said, you want to stop right away, because continuing to whine this as you're angry is just going to put that angry energy into it. And so walking away and taking a breather is really going to be beneficial. Okay, so Gotta just wind this up a little bit more, and then I'm gonna bring those loops over. So now, grab my loops, bring them all over, and start winding to make the leg. There we go. And this is really difficult for me because I'm dyslexic, so trying to figure out which hand to hold the doll baby in so that I can get good spin or good wrappings on it. That's why you see me constantly changing hands and directions and things like that. It's because I'm having a battle with myself trying to just not only do this quickly but do this right, because, well, I actually need this, like I said, for a spell that I'm doing. Okay. Now, this leg is going to be a little gimpy at first. We'll fix it. But see how it's just all berberder like this? Berberder, that's a technical term. It's very witchy. You may use it in your day-to-day. But once you get back up here to the hip, like you did with this leg, you want to hold it in place and build the hip. So, gotta do some over, under. So as you're wrapping, you're going around the other leg and you're wrapping the bottom torso. Get some more yarn going on here. Okay. So now you're building the hips and the butt. But you're also, and then after you've gone around a couple of times, make sure you go down the leg. And we'll come back up. Once you get toward the hip, you go around the torso a couple of times, around the other leg a couple times, and then do your figure 8 V wrapping, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go down the opposite leg that we were working on now, just to kind of fill it out a little bit, because the wrapping on the other leg is starting to make it a little thicker. Okay, and same way with the torso. Now I'm going to work my way back up the torso and make my way up to the head, go across the arms. Okay, now that we're back up here at the head, I'm going to take these strings and try to fold them back into place. Sorry if I keep taking this off camera, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to. Okay. Now, got all those back into place. I'm just going to wrap the head a couple of times to make sure that they stay in place. And then pull it tight. Pull it tight. To define the neck. Define the arm. Wait, and I'm going to work my way back down to the legs here. I'm sorry again about the length of the video. It does get kind of long and labor intensive, but I didn't want to lose you. Okay, and after you do your last little knot, you just tuck it in, and there you go. So any other questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the section below, and make